Some consoles had great RPGs, but the PS1 had legends that rewrote the rulebook. This list isn't just about nostalgia, it's about the games that turned a gray little box into the home of genre-defining adventures. Worlds that felt alive, stories that punched way above their time, and mechanics so bold they still get copied today. These are the 10 RPGs that made the PlayStation the true GOAT of its era. Star Ocean: The Second Story is basically that PS1 RPG where the devs said, turn-based? Nah, let's just throw everyone in the arena and let chaos handle it. And honestly, it works way better than it should. Battles are in real time, 4 characters flying around the field, special moves popping off, and spells blowing up the screen. It's messy, but the kind of messy that's fun to mash through at 2 a.m. The hook, though, isn't just the action. It's the way the game gives you 2 protagonists, Claude or Rena, each with their own perspective on the story. Depending on who you pick, your party changes, scenes play out differently, and you'll see pieces of the plot the other route misses. Then you throw in private actions, which are little events that happen when your group splits up in towns, and suddenly relationships matter. Those conversations change affinity values, affect who joins, and even twist the ending. And with dozens of possible finales, replaying isn't just encouraged, it's practically required. Then comes the wildest system, item creation. Every level gives you points to invest in cooking, smithing, alchemy, and even publishing fake books to scam the economy. Stack skills the right way, and your party starts pumping out busted weapons and endgame gear long before you're supposed to. Combine that with super specialties like Orchestra, where the whole squad plays music to boost crafting success, and you've got one of the deepest, most abusable systems the PS1 ever saw. It's not perfect, encounter rates high, and mages aren't exactly meta, but the sheer freedom in builds, party setups, and endings makes this a PlayStation RPG that still feels ahead of its time.
Look, over there.
Merity!
Now let's talk about Tales of Eternia, or as Americans knew it, Tales of Destiny 2. Because why make things simple when you can confuse everyone, right? Anyway, this is the PS1 entry that proved 2D wasn't dead. It was just flexing harder than most of the early 3D stuff. The big hook is the linear motion battle system. You're not waiting around for turns. You're running, slashing, chaining combos, and juggling enemies like it's a fighting game wearing JRPG clothes. Reed's swordplay feels snappy. Farah can combo like a martial artist out of an arcade brawler. And even the mages get love thanks to the Kramel system. That's where you slot elemental spirits into little cages and unlock ridiculous new spells by mixing them. And then there's Merity. She shows up speaking a language nobody understands, and the game actually makes you deal with it before the translation kicks in. It's a clever way to make the world feel alien right out of the gate. And once the party gets rolling, you've got this classic 2-world setup, Inferia and Celestia, complete with political tension, prejudice, and the usual, hey, maybe cooperation is better than war vibe. Exploration is fast, dungeons throw in puzzles without turning into homework, and the pacing never feels bogged down. Plus the co-op option? Still one of the coolest quirks in the series. Plug in extra controllers and suddenly your friends can jump in and control Farah or Keel during fights. Not bad for a PS1 RPG. But what really sticks is how smooth it all feels. No bloated menus, no waiting 3 years for a random encounter to start. Just quick battles, bright sprites, and a combat system that still feels ahead of its time.
Neosonic Swarm!
This is Vandal Hearts, the tactical RPG where every defeated soldier erupts like a busted fire hydrant of blood. Because apparently, subtlety didn't make the cut in '97. It moves fast. Maps drop you into political conspiracies, ambushes, escort missions, and those dreaded don't let the VIP die moments. Every turn feels sharp because you're not grinding endless filler battles. Each map is unique, with objectives that punish sloppy positioning. Lose Ash, your leader, and it's instant game over. Everyone else? They'll crawl back in the next fight, though your gold takes a hit. Progression is clean. Characters branch into new classes at levels 10 and 20, and the choices actually change how they play. Archers can stay grounded and precise, or sprout wings and terrorize from above. Ash himself can unlock a ridiculous hidden class, the Vandalier, if you track down 6 secret keys and survive brutal trials. Pull it off, and suddenly, he's hurling every spell in the book like a one-man army, turning late-game maps into a playground. The story doesn't waste time either. You're caught in a kingdom drowning in political schemes, betrayals, and power struggles, with your squad shoved right in the middle. It's straightforward, but surprisingly effective, and it keeps the momentum between battles. But what makes Vandal Heart stand out is how approachable it is. It doesn't bury you under endless systems, yet it still gives you enough tactical crunch to feel rewarding. It's lean, it's mean, and in just 20 to 30 hours, it manages to hook you harder than some RPGs triple its size. So Square looked at Parasite Eve and said, yeah, let's strip the turn-based combat and throw Aya into Resident Evil, but keep the fireballs. Parasite Eve 2 ditches the Dome-style ATB from the first game for full-on survival horror tank controls, fixed cameras, and enemies lurking right on the map. No random encounters, no waiting your turn, just you, a gun, and whatever monstrosity is waiting around the corner. What keeps this game so addictive is how it mixes that horror tension with legit RPG systems. Every fight pays out in 2 currencies: XP to evolve Aya's parasite energy into elemental schools, and BP to grab new guns, armor, and items. Energy shot, metabolism, necrosis. These aren't just flavor, they completely flip how you survive boss fights. And since you can't max everything in one run, the game pushes you back in for replays. Speaking of replays, this thing was built for them. Beat the story once, and you unlock Scavenger and Nightmare modes where resources are tighter, enemies hit harder, and BP multipliers kick in. Suddenly you're running the same labs and desert outposts, but now it feels like a speedrunner's playground, shaving minutes and min-maxing every upgrade. Yeah, the controls are classic tank style and the cameras love to troll you, but that's part of the charm. The tension isn't just the monsters, it's wrestling the controls while deciding if that necrosis spell is worth draining your last MP. Legend of Mana doesn't hold your hand at all. Instead of a straight story, you're building the world piece by piece with the land make system, dropping artifacts on the map to spawn towns, dungeons, and quests. It feels like you're arranging a puzzle only you can solve, and every placement changes what stories open up. And speaking of stories, Legend of Mana isn't a single epic, it's more like a collection of fairy tales. 3 big arcs weave through it: the Jumi, the Fairy Wars, and the Dragon Saga. But most of your time is spent chasing smaller vignettes that are quirky, weird, or just flat-out charming. Combat? It's real-time 2D brawling. You've got light and heavy attacks, special techniques, magic instruments if you're into experimenting, and a pile of abilities that unlock just by using them. It's simple at first, but then the game throws in a crafting system so deep it feels like alchemy homework, plus monster raising, golems, and even a cactus diary that keeps track of your adventures. And if you've got a friend, there's local co-op, letting a second player jump in and fight alongside you. The remaster makes it much more digestible today, with encounter toggle, save anywhere, and smoother menus. And it's everywhere now: PS4, Switch, PC, even Xbox, and mobile. That freedom to shape your own adventure mixed with Square's wild creativity is what made this game stand out back in the PS1 days. And honestly, it's still unlike anything else you'll play. This is the game that looked at Final Fantasy Tactics and said, cool, but what if we made every single move feel like advanced calculus? That's Hoshigami ruining Blue Earth in a nutshell. Instead of a simple turn order, it runs on the wrap system, where every action eats up a chunk of your future timeline. Want to swing twice as hard right now? Fine, just don't expect to see your character again for what feels like an eternity. It turns battles into a constant gamble. Push your luck now or play it safe and wait your turn. Then there's the session mechanic, which basically lets you line up allies like human pinballs. Knock an enemy into one and they'll smack it into another, chaining damage and even boosting your loot drops. It's flashy, it's tactical, and when it works, you feel like you've just pulled off a fighting game combo inside a strategy RPG. Magic? Forget the usual spell lists. Here it's all about coin fime, which are elemental coins you equip, engrave, and level up. Each has its own stats like cost, power, or recharge, and if you grind hard enough, you unlock forbidden coin themes, spells so strong they feel illegal. It's deep, it's customizable, and it makes spellcasters feel like puzzle pieces instead of just nukers. And Hoshigami doesn't hold your hand at all. Maps are long, the grind is real, and if you're not experimenting with coin theme and session setups, the game will happily kick your teeth in. But if you're the kind of player who enjoys dissecting systems until they finally click, there's something oddly rewarding buried in here. It's the kind of game where pulling off a perfect session chain after an hour-long slog makes you laugh, cry, and question your life choices all at once. Because nothing says tactical RPG like turning a battlefield into a scrapyard of dismembered robots. Thanks, Square. Front Mission 3 drops you straight into the cockpit of a Wanzer, and the first thing you realize is how much freedom you have to mess with it. Arms, legs, torso, weapons. Every piece can be swapped, rebuilt, or straight up stolen from enemies mid-fight. That's right, eject a pilot, jack their machine, and suddenly you're rolling home with fresh loot. It's half tactics game, half mecha chop shop. The real hook, though? You're not stuck with just one story. Pick Emma or Elisa at the start, and you're essentially locking yourself into two completely different campaigns. New missions, new characters, and enough replay value to keep you busy for months. And between battles, the game even lets you dive into a fake internet, reading emails, browsing shady sites, and uncovering hidden missions. It feels weirdly ahead of its time, like a PS1 game predicting the way we'd obsess over online lore years later. Combat itself is all about targeting parts. Blow the arm off and the weapon's gone, but wreck the body and fight's over. It's brutal, sometimes hilarious, and always rewarding when your plan actually works. Sure, the targeting can feel a little random, but when everything clicks, it's addicting in that just one more mission kind of way. Front Mission 3 might look like a relic from the late 90s, but under that chunky exterior sits one of the most addictive tactical RPG loops of the era. Giant robots, deep customization, and 2 whole campaigns. Not bad for a game that lets you win battles by literally stealing the other guy's ride. Hey guys, do me a solid and smash the hype button. Then drop a comment with your favorite pick for the next part of this series. I check and reply to all of them. They both feed the almighty algorithm and push this channel forward, and honestly, it's hands down the best way you can help the channel grow. And of course, if you're enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button so you won't miss the next one. Final Fantasy IX, the one people love to call the real PlayStation Final Fantasy. Okay, maybe no one actually says that except me, but let's roll with it. This game feels like a love letter to the series' roots. The story drops you into a colorful medieval world that's full of charm on the surface, but it doesn't shy away from heavy themes. Vivi, for example, goes from being an adorable little mage to the emotional anchor of the game, wrestling with identity and mortality in ways you don't expect from those big cartoon eyes. Zidane leads the charge with a mix of swagger and heart, and the cast around him grows through active time events, which are little side scenes that make them feel alive even when they're off-screen. Combat brings back the 4-person party, with a system built around learning abilities from your gear. Equip a new weapon or armor, grind out the skill, and eventually it's yours forever, assuming you've got enough magic stones to slot everything in. It's simple, but it keeps you swapping gear and experimenting instead of hoarding the same loadout for 40 hours. The trance mechanic tries to be this game's limit break, but let's just say it likes to show up at the worst possible time. Still, the rest of the loop holds strong. Outside the main quest, there's a mountain of optional content. Chocobo treasure hunts, hidden bosses like Ozma, and even the infamous Excalibur 2 challenge for masochists who think speedrunning an RPG is a good idea. The card game, Tetramaster, might test your patience more than your brain, but everything else gives you plenty of reasons to dive back in. And here's the kicker. If you're playing in 2025, modern versions come with boosters like 3 times speed and no encounters, and if you're on PC, there's a whole rabbit hole of mods waiting for you, basically turning the original's slower pacing into a non-issue. Ark the Lad 2 is one of those sequels where you can almost hear the devs say, yeah, the first game was cute, but let's actually make a real RPG now. And they delivered. This time you step into the boots of Ilk, a bounty hunter caught up in a story that's darker and sharper than the original. The game doesn't just toss you from battle to battle anymore, now you're running across a proper world map, dropping into cities, dungeons, fields, and, of course, plenty of tactical grid fights. The combat feels familiar if you played the first, but the scale is way bigger, with larger maps, more enemies, and a roster that keeps expanding as you go. You can even drag monsters into your party, raise them, and send them into arena battles. It's like Pokemon, but with less smiling and more stabbing. Then there's the Hunters Guild, the real hook here. Every major town has one, and it's packed with side quests. Some are simple errands. Others send you after wanted monsters that feel like mini-boss events, and all of it pays out with cash and rewards. It adds a layer of freedom, and makes the world feel alive in a way most SRPGs back then didn't even try. And if you played Ark the Lad 1, do yourself a favor and import that save. The game actually remembers your progress, handing out special items, scenes, and even a secret character arc tied to Choco. The campaign itself is massive for its time. You're looking at 50 to 70 hours easily, and if you get sucked into guild jobs and monster grinding, it can stretch past 100. For a tactical RPG on the PlayStation, that's borderline insane. Now, we need to talk about Symphony of the Night. That tiny little indie project that basically rewrote the DNA of half the games we play today. You start as Alucard sliding into Dracula's castle like you own the place, and immediately realize this isn't just another action platformer. It's an RPG stitched into a gothic labyrinth with levels, gear, consumables, and even spells you input like fighting game combos. Every relic you find flips the rules. Suddenly you're a wolf, a bat, a cloud of mist, and the castle keeps reshaping itself around your new moves. The real kicker is when you think you're done, and the game literally turns itself upside down. The inverted castle isn't some cheap reskin. It doubles the content with new enemies, bosses, and secrets that mess with your sense of direction. And if you're chasing that mythical 200.6% completion, prepare to crawl through every hidden room, every fake wall, and every inch of a map designed to test your curiosity as much as your skill. Combat is flexible to the point of being broken. You can grind levels if you want, but it's often about experimenting with weapons and relics until you stumble into something ridiculous. Ever heard of the shield rod paired with the Alucard shield? That combo basically turns you into a walking blender that heals itself while deleting bosses. And yeah, the Chrysegrim is in there too, just in case you wanted to melt enemies like butter. Symphony of the Night didn't just inspire the term Metroidvania, it defined the high bar everyone still tries to hit. You ever wanted to crawl through endless dungeons, smash demons to bits, and hoard loot like a medieval dragon? Only this time with a PlayStation controller instead of a mouse? Yeah, Diablo on PS1 did exactly that. The core loop is as addictive as ever. Step into a procedurally generated dungeon, cut down waves of monsters, grab shiny loot, level up, repeat. It's the same formula that ate people's weekends on PC, but here you've got the comfort of a couch and a controller that somehow makes it all feel natural. Auto-targeting takes care of aiming with bows and spells, and if you think things feel a little slow, the game even lets you double the speed. It's like Blizzard secretly knew console players don't have patience. Classes keep things flexible. Warrior, rogue, sorcerer, each with their quirks, but everyone can experiment with loot and spells. And with randomized quests and layouts, no two runs play out the same. But here's the real twist. Two-player couch co-op. No online, no split screen, just you and a friend stuck on the same screen, forced to move together like some awkward demonic buddy movie. Sounds clunky, but it's surprisingly fun. Every fight turns into chaotic teamwork, every drop becomes a negotiation, and every death a comedy of errors. Honestly, that's what makes this port stand out. Diablo on PS1 isn't just about grinding alone, it's about laughing or screaming with someone next to you. For a game that hit PlayStation in the late 90s, it's wild how well the loop still hooks today. Harvest Moon: Back to Nature isn't about slaying demons or saving the kingdom. It's about waking up at dawn to water virtual turnips and somehow finding that more addictive than any boss fight. What made this PlayStation classic stand out is how it turned the mundane into progress. You've got a ticking clock, seasons that actually matter, and a stamina bar that punishes you if you push your farmer too hard. The game gives you 3 in-game years to prove you can run a farm, but if you pass the test, it just keeps going forever. That life doesn't stop design was wild for its time, and it still hooks people today. It's not just about crops and cows. Mineral Town feels alive, with festivals, rivalries, and little heart events that slowly build into marriage if you know how to win someone over. The NPCs aren't just cardboard cutouts. They weave into your routine in ways that make every season feel different. And that mix of farming sim plus social RPG was the blueprint for a whole subgenre. And here's where it gets even better for 2025. The game's back on PlayStation 4 and 5 with modern perks like Rewind and Quick Saves. You can play it cleanly without digging out a dusty disc. Back to Nature might look slow at first glance, but give it a week of in-game time and suddenly you're obsessing over planting schedules and debating which villager deserves your digital affection. It's peak comfort gaming, wrapped in a deceptively demanding routine. Lunar 2 isn't here to impress you with fancy systems or wild mechanics. It's here to make you care about a priest who drinks too much, a dancer with a dark past, and a space girl who doesn't even understand how soup works. And somehow it nails it. This is Hero and Lucia's story, and it's one of those rare RPGs that actually feels alive because of its cast. Every party member brings baggage, humor, and moments that stick, and the writing leans hard into that. Working Designs went wild with their localization, throwing in jokes and pop culture digs that either make you laugh or roll your eyes, but it definitely gives the game personality. Combat looks simple at first, but positioning actually matters. You don't just mash. Your characters move around the field, spells have ranges, and enemies will punish you if you group up. Best part? No random battles on the overworld. In dungeons, enemies are right there taunting you, so it feels fair when you get dragged into a fight. The PS1 remake also trimmed down the giant dungeons from the Sega CD version, so progression flows smoother. And then there's the epilogue, a 10 to 20 hour chunk of extra story that most RPGs of that era wouldn't even bother with. It's not filler either. It wraps up Hero and Lucia's arc in a way fans still talk about today. It's not a game that's trying to be the deepest RPG ever. It's a character-driven ride with charm, heart, and just enough sarcasm to make you feel like you're part of the adventure.
Two men who survived.
Most RPGs hand you a hero, a sword, and a destiny. But Saga Frontier 2 hands you a family tree, a pile of broken weapons, and says good luck. Instead of one neat little tale, the story sprawls across generations. On one side, you've got Gustav, a prince thrown out of royalty who claws his way back through politics and wars. On the other, Will Knights, treasure hunter extraordinaire, dragging his family line into battles with relics and monsters. The episodic style jumps across time like a history book on fast forward, but it works. And it makes the world feel alive, shifting under the weight of centuries. Then there's combat. Regular party fights let you juggle arts and elemental anima magic, but the real hook is the duels. One-on-one battles where you input commands like a combo and suddenly spark a new technique mid-fight. Discover it once, and now the whole crew can use it. It's chaotic, it's addictive, and yeah, it's pure saga. Layered on top of that, LP instead of just HP. Burn through it, and your hero is gone for the chapter. Weapons break, and blacksmithing isn't just a side gimmick, it's the lifeline to keeping your squad competitive. And with the remaster, you're not stuck grinding through clunky menus. Faster battles, quick save, extra story events, and even a new game plus. All the strange edges smoothed just enough so modern players can finally appreciate why this oddball RPG deserves a seat at the table.
Suikoden.
And to wrap things up with a bang, let's talk about Suikoden 2. Yeah, just another little RPG with 108 recruitable characters, a war between nations, and one of the most psychotic villains the genre has ever seen. Totally small-scale stuff, right? This game throws you into a political conflict where your best friend Joey might just become your worst enemy, and every decision feels like it has weight. It's not just about saving the world, it's about building it, literally. Your army headquarters starts as an empty shell, but every new recruit transforms it into a living hub with shops, services, and even cooking contests that make you forget you're supposed to be at war. Combat doesn't waste your time either. Battles are snappy, loads are instant, and with 6 party slots plus unit attacks, experimenting with different squads is half the fun. And then, the game flips the script. One moment you're running turn-based fights, the next, you're locked in a one-on-one duel, reading your opponent's moves like a samurai showdown. And then you're commanding armies in grid-based strategy battles. It keeps things fresh without ever losing momentum. But what makes it stick, even decades later, is the cast. Sure, not all 108 characters get screen time, but the main trio, Ryu, Joey, and Nanami, carry some of the most emotional arcs of the PS1 era. And when Luca Blight shows up, let's just say iconic villain doesn't even cover it. And in 2025, thanks to the HD remaster, there's finally no excuse to miss it. If you're still with me, the link to the playlist is popping up in the card right now. And before you go, don't forget to smash the hype button, leave a comment, and hit sub so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments section.